Bitecofer, the founder of Strike PAC and a contributor to The Cycle on Substack, and a pod host with the election whisperer. Strike PAC, StrikePAC.com is the website, and the Twitter handle is Rachael. Rachael, can you pronounce your last name for me? I want to make sure I get this right.
Sure, I married that monstrosity. It's Bitecofer.
Bitecofer. Okay, thank you. It's Rachel. The Twitter handle is Rachael, Bitecofer. And Rachael, you are just doing God's work. I mean, you predicted the blue wave election of 2020 down to predicting the, as I recall, the exact or maybe one-off number of seats that the Democrats would take in the House of Representatives. And now you're concerned about 2022. Tell us about this.
Yeah, and I also predicted that Donald Trump would lose the 2020 presidential election about 16 months before the election, right? But one thing I got really wrong in 2020 was how Democrats would do down ballot. What they should have been doing is cleaning up, right? Not only not losing House seats, but gaining some additional ground, flipping some state legislatures, and also picking up a clear Senate majority. And as we all know, those things didn't happen, right? And my academic and research career has now transitioned into Strike PAC, which is what I'm calling the People's PAC. It's the answer to this idea that Democrats suck at messaging, that we lose winnable elections, and now we're up against a GOP 2.0. It's trying to end democracy as we know it, so we just can't afford any more mistakes.
So what specifically is wrong with Democratic messaging, and how do we fix it?
Yeah, so it's really crucial to iterate here that the messaging revolution that I've designed and have a team to implement is just one aspect of what Strike PAC is arguing we need to be doing, right? The things that should have gotten changed from 2016 to 2020 didn't get done by the status quo, and that's because the status quo is hanging really on to the old way of politics. The GOP not only has adapted, but helped to push and invent the modern atmosphere that we're in with hyper-partisanship and polarization. Vote choice is almost completely locked in. We've seen an incredible increasing in strength of that over the last 20 years. And so therefore, election outcomes become about coalitional turnout, which includes, of course, each party's left or right-leaning independent part of the electorate. So we see people tuning in after Trump got elected from terror. That's a terror that the Democrats never intentionally stoked. They didn't make 2020 a referendum on the Republican Party's governance of COVID and their refusal to pass additional COVID relief aid starting in July. They were holding the HEROES Act. So it's like that kind of strategic coordination, planning. We need a general for a war, and we're in the war, whether we want to be in it or not. They're fighting for keeps, and so we must too.
So if I'm participating with you in spreading a Democratic message that works as opposed to one that doesn't, what do I say?
Right.
What do I do? Other than going to StrikePAC.com and doing everything I can to help you in the work you're doing, which I've already done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I'll tell everybody listening, this truly is going to rise or fall on the backs of everybody that's listening today and to other outreaches, because this is a status quo smashing project. It is basically saying, look, the where we need to tweak is not up in the limbs of the tree. It's down in the soil and the roots. We have to de-soil our entire election approach and switch it to what the GOP has been doing to us unassailed, unanswered for years, which is a branding war, right? We need to make each election a referendum on the Republican Party's brand and paint that brand in as negative a light as possible. And some of that is, as James Carville would tell you, really hanging the Jan 6 insurrection and the potential for coups and anti-democratic movements from what I call a neo-fascist rising GOP majority. Some of it's that, but also it's about going and prosecuting the case against Reaganomics. This is not 1980 or 1990. We don't want people running around telling people they're fiscal conservatives, because that reinforces the fact that the GOP is better on the economy. And the fact is their track record, as you well know, Tom, I know this is a real area for you, is a total poop show, right? It's something that we should easily be able to assail and taint Democrats as, the party of the middle and working classes, parties that are, driving economic growth, job growth, Wall Street growth. I mean, it's always better under Democratic administrations. We need to be making that branding case and really coming after the GOP's brand.
We're talking with Rachael Bitecofer, the founder of Strike PAC, Strike PAC. StrikePAC.com is the website. You can tweet her at Rachael Bitecofer. A great article in Salon, by the way. She predicted the blue wave. Now she's trying to prevent a big red one that I also recommend to people. Rachael, a couple of weeks ago, I wrote an op-ed suggesting that whenever Democrats refer to the Republican Party or Republicans, they should always insert the word corrupt before that. Is my little attempt at establishing some branding. Thoughts?
No, that's exactly right. And I mean, think about how coordinated and strategic the GOP is. They have everybody on message all the time, and that includes House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. When he talks about Democrats, he always inserts the moniker socialist, right? So they have so successfully branded us, because the problem that progressives especially make, and it comes from a true place in our hearts, is that we believe everybody's like us. We believe that people are informed and engaged and they care. And the truth is that the electorate has no idea what's happening. They don't understand anything about politics. They don't follow politics, may not even watch the news. And so reality is what gets painted for them when they get outreached by these media and messaging machines from the right? So what we really need to be doing is branding the Republican Party as GOP 2.0. Right? This is not your granddaddy's Republican Party. This is a party that's been overrun by extremists. There are basically no moderates left, and this is a statistical, quantitative fact, in the Republican caucus. And every time we're not talking about that, we're doing their bidding. And by that I mean, they bait us with things like CRT, and we're happy to oblige by a month of conversation about the merits of it. That's not what we need to be doing. We need to be going on counter offense and forcing them to go on defense for the first time.
Right, and I think another brand for them might be white supremacist.
Oh, yes, absolutely. If people go onto the Salon piece, they're going to find 4 launch packet ads that I put together with my team that, kind of exemplify elements of the strategy and messaging that Strike PAC wants to impose. Again, it's a lot more than that. It's about delivery, too. We're really woefully inadequate at reaching voters where they are, which is in the digital space. But in any case, Fuse highlights the fact that the modal position in the Republican Party is that Joe Biden stole the election, is an illegitimate president, and they're telling us outright that what they want to do is return Donald Trump, a would-be dictator, into power. Right? He tried not only with the armed insurrection to stage a physical coup, but he used the Justice Department and tried to get the Justice Department to keep him in power. Like, this is a 5-alarm fire that we're having, and we need to be telling average people that, because they don't know what's going on.
Right. We're talking with Rachael Bitecofer, the founder of StrikePAC.com. Rachael, final question here. You predicted, as I mentioned in the opening here, you accurately predicted pretty much most of what happened, at least at a federal level in the election of 2020. Based on the way that you're compiling metrics and data, when you look at that same data set, or the June 2021 version of that data set, what do you see for 2022?
Yeah, no, I have built a reputation of telling people what they need to know and not what they want to hear. And here's the hard, cold truth. We have no idea what's going to happen to Democratic turnout now that Trump is gone. Trump was a natural turnout catalyst. He could have been even better if the Democrats had intentionally tapped into that angst and done what the GOP does, which is make every election about Obama and Pelosi, and now it's the squad and Sanders, right? So we did not do that. But now that natural catalyst is gone. And if we don't find, build something that is going to allow us to frame the election in those referendum terms and tap back into the angst that should definitely still be there in every voter, because we're in worse position in terms of our democracy today than we were back on January 20th, 2020, then we're going to be in real trouble, Tom. So, to me, the barometer that I'm watching is enthusiasm. How many Democrats relative to Republicans say they're excited to vote? And, some early indicators of that are concerning, like in California, where Republicans are twice as likely to say they're excited about the recall.
Wow. Rachael Bitecofer, the website, strikepac.com. You can check it out. I just tweeted while we were talking, Rachael, the Salon article about you. And so if anybody wants to see that also, they can just look at my Twitter feed. And I should have tagged you in that. I'll do that as well. Rachael, thanks so much for dropping by. It's great talking with you. Keep up the great work.